Hello and welcome to this week's very special edition of Bondi Snapshot. You might notice we have a slightly different background today. We're here in the New South Wales Business Chamber head office in North Sydney with a very special guest, the CEO, Mr. Steven Cartwright. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us here in New South Wales Chamber head office in North Sydney.
It's good to be here.
Fantastic. First of all, I'd love you to tell us a little bit about your history in business.
Well, a lot of people are surprised when they find out that I actually spent the first 5 years of my life working underground in coal mines in Queensland. I was a cadet mining engineer, so I was put into all sorts of mining camps and situations, the idea being that you kind of learn how to do it by actually being underground and working in that environment. So I migrated from there after getting my engineering qualifications into workplace relations in a full-on way, and ultimately ended up at the New South Wales Business Chamber in the Hunter Valley for 2 years. So I was the Industrial Relations Officer up there for 2 years, was promoted to head office, and by about 1990 I was head of workplace relations here in the Chamber, and then decided after travelling around the world for a year, I came back and started my own law firm, Fisher Cartwright Berryman, which started in North Sydney with just me and a PA, and today has about 40 lawyers and operates in Sydney and Melbourne. And then in 1995 I started a business called the Ready Group, which was really in blue-collar labour hire to begin with, and ultimately the Ready Group became Chandler McLeod Group, and we listed Chandler McLeod on the stock market in 2005 when we hit $1 billion a year in annual sales, so not bad, 10 years from start-up to $1 billion in sales, and we were the second biggest in the industry at that stage, behind Skilled, who were slightly bigger than we were. And then I ran it as a public company for 3 years, took another year off, and got a phone call saying, would you like to come and run the New South Wales Business Chamber? And I thought, well, that was about 8 years ago, and I thought, well, look, provided that I could turn the chamber into something really powerful, then I was interested.
And I guess the interesting things, I mean, I've been a local chamber member and seeing the New South Wales Business Chamber build up the local chamber alliance, and obviously that was an initiative that you've brought along.
So when I got back here in 2009, I was pretty horrified to see that the local chambers were upset with the state chamber. The state chamber seemed to be competing with local chambers for members, and yet a lot of what smaller businesses wanted out of the chamber movement was the things that local chambers offered. So local networking events, you know, lobbying the local council for changes that impacted business at a local level. And I knew the state chamber didn't do those things. And yet on the flip side, those same small businesses really wanted their state chamber to be fighting the state government on payroll tax and workers' comp premiums and all the things that mean something at that level. And my view was that this whole idea that all these chambers were out there competing with each other was crazy, and we had to completely invert the model and make it as easy as possible for a small business to say, well, actually that's a membership that suits me and that gives me what I'm looking for, and by the way, here's some added value that the state chamber can add. So as a result, we went from having no local chambers affiliated with us when I got here back in 2009 to 200 local chambers today, and that's pretty much all the local chambers in New South Wales are now part of us, and their members are now part of us.
And an interesting question is, why should you be a part of your local chamber?
I often go out and talk to small businesses, and they feel very frustrated with a whole range of things that they believe are happening to them. And I say to them, well, why don't you do something about it? And they say, well, I'm just a voice in the wilderness. Who would listen to me? I'm just a little business person. No one listens to me. And that's the point at which I say to them, just imagine if we could get all 850,000 small businesses that employ people across Australia to somehow come together and form a coalition, then everybody would listen to us, because we would be so powerful, we would be so strong, we would be so influential that everybody would have to listen to us. And they kind of get that. They go, okay, well, how do I do that? I said, well, just join your local chamber. That's the beginning of the process.
I must admit, I think one of the standout campaigns that has been run by the New South Wales Business Chamber, and actually was brought up the other day in our Chamber Day, was the Small Business Too Big to Ignore, an outstanding campaign, and I think really resonated with a lot of businesses, because for so long, small business has been ignored.
Yeah, and I still get a real kick out of going to a regional town like Mollymook on the south coast of New South Wales, and you walk down the street where all the cafes are, and there's all these yellow stickers on their windows saying small business too big to ignore, and it gives me a real sense of kind of pride that we were able to initiate that rise of consciousness about the importance of small business. And what a lot of people don't remember is that after we prosecuted that campaign, and I have to say, spent about $2 million on that campaign. So it's not cheap to do these things. But after we did that, Joe Hockey handed down the most small business friendly budget in the history of the Commonwealth. And then the opposition leader, Bill Shorten, got up 2 days later in the budget reply speech and said, you didn't go far enough. You didn't support small business far enough. I thought, if I've got the two major parties fighting over who's best for small business, we have won the war. Now, unfortunately, I think we've come back from that a little bit. I think people have forgotten again. And so I think it's going to be time soon for us to ramp it up, but ramp it up in a more permanent way rather than a short campaign, then you back away. I think it's got to be a permanent exercise that we do.
Now, very exciting, obviously, is the World Chambers Congress that New South Wales Business Chamber, of course, is hosting in September. Please tell us a little bit, how did it come about and what can we expect?
So I thought, well, Australian Chamber movement needs to get involved in this. So we went up against a range of Asian bidders. Big competition, and we won. And it was a great day. It was a bit like the Olympics, you know. The winner is Sydney, and so we jump up and down and celebrate, which was great. We've got just on 1,000 delegates registered to come, 110 countries. So I'm very excited. And the difference between this Congress and the former ones, Day 3 is designed to attract business people, to say, I want to go and hear from Google about the future and what's going to happen. So there's a lineup of speakers on Day 3 that are very much pitched towards the business community in Sydney as opposed to the global chamber community, which Day 1 and 2 is a little bit more focused on.
And do you think that's going to help, obviously, raise awareness for local chambers in Sydney?
Look, I hope so. I think if local chambers are like the Bondi Chamber, that are proactive and get out there and talk to their constituents and do social media, and then I think there's a great opportunity to sort of explain what the chamber movement does and why it's valuable to be part of it.
Well, thank you very much. Really wonderful having you here. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Looking forward to the World Congress.
Me too.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, if you are in small business, I'd encourage you to go out there and check out your local chamber and see how we can help you.